And with that, I will go to the next slide, and it's actually the main talk. So I will hand over the presentation to Alexander, and we will hear from him about the nice things he prepared for us about coding guidelines and best practices. And Alexander, it's your turn.
Yes, so let me just share my screen.
Yes. I hope it's possible.
Into Hamburg.
So maybe while you're working on preparing your slides, one short question: does anyone already have had the time, or is probably going to the Mule Connect in Hamburg in October? Is there anyone here in the chat who plans to attend? I try to be there, but maybe someone else is also joining.
So everybody see it.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, so before we start our presentation, I would like to welcome you to the next level of digital excellence. Yeah, this is a general approach that our company LPDG is going on, and this is kind of, I think, exactly come to the topic what I present. Yeah. So a little bit about our companies. We are small, yeah, but part of the global Minol concern. And we are starting our journey in 2019. Yeah, that's already we are official partner of MuleSoft, Salesforce, and UiPath. Yeah, and basically I am sitting in this block of program intelligence and automation in our company as a senior architect. Yeah, and yeah, from now on we will start our journey to the best practice of guidelines. So before we start, I would like to tell you that this presentation is it's not something that you need say what you see. This is best practice, because best practice for you can be different as for me. Yeah. So basically, this presentation is about taking something that we took in different projects. Yeah, we converted it in best practice, and this is kind of product or our thoughts how it should be. So basically, you can take ideas from this presentation and, of course, convert these ideas to your best practice. Yeah. So if you have any question, what Kai suggests, you can, of course, stop me. I don't know if I will see you, because I present all screens, or you need probably ask Kai or somebody just really talk to me. Otherwise, I will not stop probably. Okay, or Guy.
Yeah, I will have a look at the chat for you, and we'll present you the questions if there
are. Have any question? Yeah, just stop me slowly. Yeah, so what we are going to talk about, this is recommended standards and best practices, which will be kind of separation of project name, convention, endpoint, project structure, flow naming convention, messages, configuration, how we parameterize values, and we end up with best practice on one slide. Let's say I think this is most valuable, or one of the most valuable slides. And then we jump to a real example that was picked up by me, as a real example for improvement, and to show how these practices can be in reality confused, adapted, and leverage even more best things. Yeah. So when we come to project naming conventions, what we see, we can split the name on different topics. Like we have domain of the project, we have application, what we are like business logic, what should do something, and of course, because of this API-led connectivity, we have layers where this application is running, and so this is how we split it. And we have domain, which is unique domain name for the API belongs to, like HR in this example. Have business logic. It can be split for even more names, not only one. So we can see here example like employee benefits, and of course layer, it's related experience, process, or system layer. And the end product, we have something like HR employee benefits party. So this is a name that we can suggest and use it according to everywhere. When we jump to Anypoint Studio itself, so what you see, it's on the right-hand side, copy paste from Studio, from one of our project, that I did for this purpose. And what you see, this is what you try to separate, separation of concern, which this term will be used more or less not once in this presentation. So you try to separate your concern according to build your structure. So let's say if you have data views, you put in data view block. If you want to use certification in your project, so you can create certification folder. If you have anything else that you really need that everybody will agree on it, and use it, so you can adapt another folder and leverage this kind of consideration, separation of concern to everybody. And this is main purpose of it. So in addition, we need to think that there is another way to thinking, that we need to separate implementation and interface. I saw many applications that using kind of one style, so they take down some code or XML folder and just put everything inside. And this should not be the case, because we have, once again, it's like an object-oriented programming. It's taken from there. You need to separate into your interface, and then your implementation. From implementation, as mentioned, you can create your implementation folder and put your all implementation inside that. And this will be okay from structure point of view. So about flow naming convention. So here there's of course guideline from MuleSoft, but at the end of the day, it's kind of your decision once again how you leverage this naming convention. You can use lower cases, you can use different options like camel cases and so on, but the idea that it will be unique for the whole project. What I suggest that you will give starting your name with verbs, that will kind of show operation or action to what this function should do. And name should be really clearly describing functionality. And try not to use abbreviation. So I saw already many cases in my last several years of experience that people use abbreviation even from different languages. So I had a call that somebody from different, not German, but I think it was from another country. So he just used his language for coding. And when we saw this, no one understood what is written. And then it was like, no go. So in this case, if you already want to use abbreviation, so first of all, you need to know that everybody understands this abbreviation, and or they're so unique, like average, sum, I know, sinus, cosinus, that everybody will understand what you are doing under this name. So when we go to message and scopes, so if you know that MuleSoft provide already names given for all this message processing, so try not to kind of use it as it is, but use it, but add some information above to really kind of show what this connector, what this transform message is doing behind the scene, so to say. And this will leverage your understanding in code review, in just looking at the flow, and you don't need to always click here and click there to understand what the purpose or business logic behind this connect or this transform message, because it's not written nowhere. So this is a general approach for these scopes. So when we jump to parameterization, so the idea here that every configuration elements we would like to parameterize. There's several there's many options, like you parameterize protocol, timeout, passwords, token, host, port, everything what you think can be used in connectors, or will be used in different, let's say, environments. So you don't need to jump everywhere again and again and again and change your variables, but you put it and save it in one, let's say, configuration file, different configuration file depending on the environment, and you use this. But try to parameterize more than less. Let's see. When we going to transform message, so I here this is kind of operation that I saw many cases that exactly this point almost never used, or people even just don't know about this. So we have option to, this is best practice, to save every transform message in separate DVL file. So of course, here comes maybe a pop-up question, what should we save? Yes, if I put in transform message one line of code or one number, should I save it? So from my side, maybe it's not required, but if you see your transform message is having global, somebody else can use it, or it is more than one or two lines of code, or there is function involved inside. So then, yes, my suggestion to save it in a DVL separate file and reference it to your XML code. So there is several benefits for this use. Of course, this is reusability, because many people in different projects can use this in different flows. If your developer team, or let's say all teams that working on that project, take this approach, and so let's say everybody already know that this kind of saving, it's done in our team. So basically, when there is some action needed to be done, let's say there's error, or there's more information should be put, or changes to this transform message. So first of all, we don't need to look for this transform message somewhere in the flow, but we know that this is name of it, this saved in this location, and we just go there, and we know that this is only one place to find, which leads to maintainability in the future kind of life of this project. And of course, if we have really big XML, really big data with or code inside this transform message. So of course it will be blow up your XML file. Yeah, and just imagine if you have several transform messages in the flow, there's several flows saved. So it will really blow up your XML file. Yeah. And here we come to the best practice on one slide. So as I mentioned, there is you need to think like single responsibility principle. So here it will be always or almost on every point this approach will be used, kind of. So we need to think that we separate XML file only for global element and separate file for configuration. We use separate XML file for each use case or resources. Now, this, of course, once again, it reduces your code over loading on the one XML, and for your maintenance in the future, I see, let's say in our project, that this is really privilege to maintenance, because you find things faster. You can connect to people fast and explain things easier. Yeah. So as I mentioned, the starting point, so if you have any packages or examples, data with codes, so please separate them in different kind of packages or folders and leverage resources for only this kind of logic. Yeah? So, and this is really important point that we separate XML that created from API router and use it as only interface. And every implementation that we starting to implement or all business logic will not be shown in this XML file, but will be separate. And this is really important point for everybody, I think. So here even we take error handling separate, and even for that we can create a new separate file for error handling. Then we can reference them in each separate flows. So when there is RAML definition and libraries are used, yeah. So they as well saved separately, like they are coming with API router, yeah, and this should be kind of said like this. You know. Once again, please separate interface and implementation. Yeah. And always try to think or use the single responsibility principle. So if you go, let's say, even deeper to some function, yeah, you already do business logic. Yeah, so start think how I separate this business logic in pieces, that each piece will do only one thing. Yeah, and this will be, I think this will be really useful once again in your maintenance in the next steps and understanding as a global for all the team. Now we come to some best practices that I took here and there. So let's say here we can see for each scope. So we don't use for each like for each. We use some for each and add some information that what this for each is used for. Yeah, so some explanation. The same idea about transform message. We don't use kind of what any point provide us this naming transform message, but we add on it and explain what this data with or this block should do. Yeah, so here we can see, let's say this is what I mentioned, separation of interface and implementation. So this is what is in here on uppercase and in the upper of this build. So this is what is generated for API routing. Yeah, so of course, this already provided with transform message from kind of on the fly. Yeah, so you can of course kind of take this and continue to implement all business logic here. So there is no kind of problem with that. Yeah, the problem we will start that this is exactly the point that there is no separation of concern, there is no interface, and there is no implementation, everything in one. So my suggestion, this as well best practice, that you take this, let's say the same two transform message and pack them in separate file, yeah, and only reference it. Yeah, so you'll see here only reference, and there is no business logic, yeah, to see. Yeah, and here you will see this is you create a new XML file, and all business logic will be saved under that, yeah, new XML file. So another example using of debug level. Yeah. So I don't know how much in your companies people use debug level, but I think general it's a really dangerous point. Or let's say you need to know how to use it. Yeah. The first point here, if you let's say put debug level in your all development environment, it's okay, but then don't forget to change it to info or something else. But the problem starts when you go to production and this debug level will stay in production. So this means if you put something like security points, endpoint information, keys, and whatever you put in under debug, yeah, this will be set up and everybody will see it in production. Not everybody, but it's leakage, and I think this is really huge leakage in security. Yeah. So let's say if you have and you need to use debug levels, of course there's some exception. So you need only generally consider this risky part. Yeah. And if you use this only shortly in production to really see, yeah, well, I need to see some information, and come back again to info or warn level. And don't forget to get restrict access to logs, yeah, because of that what I just described. Yeah. And this example for what I mentioned, transform message, and so many people I saw many times usage of set variables as something big. So people put really big code line or a lot of code, function, and so on inside set variable. So there is, of course, everything will run smoothly. There is no problem with that from Mulesoft side, but there is a problem with the project side, let's say, yeah. Because once again, you cannot save this information in extra DVL file, so you cannot use it, reuse it, yeah. So and this is therefore even suggestion from Mulesoft in this case, really use transform message and use set variables only for one variable, yes, not more than this. So another two different options or different point that I found somewhere here and there. So first of all, you're kind of naming, yeah. So please try to avoid confusion and try to keep display name and your flow name at least in the same kind of level of explanation. Yeah. Yes, this will help developer and team to navigate. Yeah, because if you put display name really different. Yeah, many times you need to click twice and see, do I really see what I see? Yeah, and this is confusing. Another example, I was surprised to have seen one of the projects, many comments blocks. Yes, once again, just imagine all this was could be kind of saved and comes to production. Yeah. So all this, I don't know how much it is under XML, yeah, but this probably, in that case, a lot of XML lines of code. Yeah, so just imagine when you're in production, there is no debugging level for that, no one see how it's working, what is it under the side, and of course there's a lot of problem, especially with security. Yeah, so my suggestion, if you have comments, first don't forget to check what is under these comments. Do you need them? Yeah, because maybe you need them, but somebody just committed this because he wanted to test something then and forgot about it. Yeah, so you test it. If you don't need it, just delete it, or remove it, but don't put this to production. So what we see here, you see it here basically two different functions, and they're using the same arrow handling. So this is exactly the point. So if you use something common, you can, especially arrow handling, you can use separate file and reference it. So it will be used for everybody. And of course, it will reduce your code. Yeah. And here, this point I already mentioned, interface versus implementation. So you see here, in reality, somebody make business logic in, or started to make business logic in API in interface. Yeah, so this is not the best practice. Yeah. What was described already. Yeah, so that's it from my part.
All right, great.
Questions
for your talk.
So
there, like in the chat, there were actually no questions. We had one feedback from Saber that was like setting variables when constructing variables, even if the content is complex. And I think there is actually what you said at the beginning, that it's guidelines. Well, it doesn't always apply to your use case, and there are many reasons why and why not you should some of these, right?
Yeah, of course.
So it always depends on the project and how you do it. Especially like for myself, I actually use set variable also a lot, and I do separate the logic also into externalized DVL functions, and then just import this function into the set variable, and the main code and complexity stays outside the set variable. So in the set variable, there only lives like this function call, let's say map big complex customer to CDM object, and then that's it in this set variable. And I think that's also a possibility to separate the concern there.
Yes, of course. So it's up how you see this. So we'll say what I see. If you use more than one line of code, yeah, you can use in transform message or set variable. Yeah. The problem is when the logic behind it. Yeah, as I mentioned, if you want to leverage that reusability, yeah, then set variable is not the perfect place. Yeah.
Yes, true.
Yes, exactly. So that's the main point. If you want save a lot of code line in set variable, it will work. Yeah, but what it will do for developer or for somebody who review the code, yeah, so it needs to click here, click there to open it, to see it, and it's once again the question is it used only once? Yeah, because if it's anyway more than one line of code, so it's already not valuable. It's something you can think as a let's maybe do it function. Yeah, so we create function and set everything inside that function. So then you kind of switch away from this set variable concept.
Yeah, well, that's the case with coding guidelines and best practices. They are extendable, they are flexible, and you just need to commit to one way when working with a project. And I think that's the quintessence of what you actually showed us here, and that's really nice. And I hope our attendees got some information and maybe also some interesting thoughts and findings from your presentation here.
I hope so.
Yeah, so are there any questions for Alexander as we still have him here? Maybe to this topic, maybe also a little bit more off topic if you want. We are here for learning and giving insights and options and answers if possible. I mean, we are also, every one of us is working in the Mule environment. So that's also one part of this group, is to try to help each other out, share information, share thoughts. I know it's harder in an online meetup than it's in an in-person meetup. But if you have anything, just put it in the chat. And yeah,